Inspiration Whispers, where in a world where inspiration and purpose is so needed, we find it to help you make a real change. I'm your host, Coach Rileagh. Today, I have a phenomenal guest, Jillian Bullock, award-winning film director and producer, and you write screenplays. You also write. You've written a book. You have this amazing history behind you, Jillian. That to me, I found truly inspiring. That you've come from where you've come from, and I'd love for you to share with our audience that and how perhaps you've made this transition to this fantastic person that you are today, helping women. Nonetheless, you're a coach and spirit, mind, body, soul, spiritual coach as well. So I want to hear about you and your journey, please.
Yeah, definitely. Real quick, it's a long story, but I'll try to shorten it. Grew up with my mother and my stepfather. He was a white guy. He was in the mob, the Italian mafia. So grew up and had a lot of different experiences with that because he's the mob.
Yeah.
And, a lot of stuff that he did, some stuff I saw that I shouldn't have seen. And but, one part about him is that he loved movies and he instilled in me that he always wanted me to be a filmmaker. That's what he said. He kept saying, one day I'm going to see your name in lights and you're going to be a filmmaker. So he always drilled that into me. And every Sunday we would go see a movie. At that time in the 70s, I never saw a female director at that time. So I thought he was crazy, but eventually his dream became my dream.
Beautiful. So you come from this situation where mob influences saw some horrible things, had horrible things happen, but you pulled yourself from that. I mean, I read your bio, and here you were on the streets, homeless, then had a baby because of what was happening to you, and people right now, I think life has been tough with COVID. We know that life has been tough, and I think you have something here that in this transition you were able to make this massive, wonderful move. What happened for you in this time?
Well, when I was on the streets, I was homeless. I was on the streets, and to survive, I was forced into drugs and prostitution to survive.
Yeah.
And eventually, I got pregnant, and I said, you know what? My stepfather had passed by that time, and I said, you know what? I have to fulfill his dream because that was his dying wish. And I said, I have to get off the street to give my son a better life. I didn't know he's a son then, but a baby. I was pregnant. So I got off the streets. And then I got myself cleaned up by myself, kicked drugs cold turkey. Um, had my son, had a baby, and went back to school, went back to high school. I had been out of school for 2 years because I was on the streets. And, I just dug in deep and I said, I have to give him a better life than what I had. And in order to do that, I knew I had to have education behind me. So I had to go back to school, get my grades up so I could go to college. So I was doing that while I was trying to raise a baby. So I'm a baby myself trying to raise a baby. So don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Just trying to figure it out the best I could, trying to maneuver a parenthood, going to school as a student and trying to stay clean from drugs, which was difficult because I didn't have any support or help. So it was all very difficult for me.
So in those difficult moments, what kept you going? What said, I want to keep moving? What kept that?
Well, like I said, my son, every time I looked over at him in his crib, I said, if I screw up, they probably would take him away from me, if I went back to drugs. So I wasn't going to do that because I just didn't want my son to be in foster care or anything like that. Also, like I said, I was trying to fulfill my stepfather's dream, which at that time became my dream. And I said the only way out of poverty is through education and to go on and do what I want to do with the filmmaking career. I also wanted just to be a writer. I started writing when I was a little girl, to write essay stories, and my stepfather would be like, "You can't write about the mob, so you just got to tear that one up." So, but I always loved writing, always loved reading books, and so I eventually, when I started college, I got an internship at the Wall Street Journal. No education yet, no real writing
Wow.
skills, but the bureau chief saw something in me, he said, and he mentored me. So I was working at the Wall Street Journal as intern, going to college, raising my kids. So it was a lot going on.
Yeah. And the courage you must have had for all of us. The courage that, because I work with people, and I'm sure you do, that you know the common thing is, I can't do that. I have none of that education behind me. I have none of that behind me. But you didn't let that stop you. You just said something, or probably, I don't know. What did you say to yourself? One foot in front of the other. Just keep going. I'm living my stepfather's dream.
I said it
What did
all.
you
You
say
said,
to?
yeah, I said I had to pull myself up by the bootstraps. You have to be resilient and tough. And my stepfather did teach me that. He said, that, what, everybody thinks everything is so bad about the mafia. Of course, the killing and all is bad about the mafia, but he taught me some lessons to learn about how to be tough and how to be resilient and how to, have loyalty and things like that, which is part of the mob. That's their code, certain things they
Yeah,
don't do. Um, so, I just used a lot of that to be strong for myself, be strong for my son, keep going. It was difficult. I'm not going to lie. It was very difficult to have that kind of background and try to raise a child and raise a child who could grow up to be something positive as opposed to being another statistic, or
yeah,
us being me being on welfare and him being in prison, and the stereotypical of a young Black woman having a baby and being uneducated at the
right.
time.
Yeah. No, you didn't. You absolutely drove past that, and amazing, and have created recent movies, amazing movies, award-winning movies.
Uh-huh.
So could you tell me a little bit about about your most current movie, what you're working on right now?
I'm working on right now a movie called A Cup Full of Crazy. It deals with mental illness and the path to recovery, and faith, and trying to do your best and knowing that it's okay not to be okay, and working through it. Again, we know there's a lot of stigma and shame surrounding mental illness and trying to get help, especially in the Black community. It's a big no-no in our community to go get help, but it's needed. It's definitely needed, and I hope this movie. It is it's a feature film, so it is, you have to have some and entertaining moments because it's not a documentary. But the storyline is basically, that it's okay to get help, and there are ways to heal and have a good life, have a great, productive life.
Absolutely, absolutely beautiful. And what inspired this particular movie? Is a piece of you, a piece of something you've seen,
Yeah,
something else?
it's a part of me. It's like, even when I had gotten off the streets, years later, I was like in my late 40s when I kept saying to myself, why am I so angry? And since I'm a black belt in Taekwondo and Wing Chun, and I do mixed martial arts. So for me, unfortunately, to solve a problem, I resorted to using my fists as opposed to, communicating
Yeah,
effectively. Even though my degree is in communication. So, you know, that wasn't a thing. That was a thing because there was so much anger inside. So that's how this character is in the movie that I wrote. She's a mixed martial arts fighter, and she's very angry, and that's how she handles it, being sexually assaulted. Um, she's just so angry. So when I went to therapy, I was diagnosed with depression and PTSD,
mm,
because of the trauma that I had suffered, and never knew it. Never knew it. Again, don't go to therapy. Don't get help. So
no.
I finally went and got therapy. Between therapy and yoga and meditation, that's what saved me. That's what saved me and turned my life
All your
around.
movies, and I just love what you're doing in for women in general. Um, the women are often the heroine. They're very physical. You do your when you've been the actress. You do your own stunts. Can you
Hmm.
tell me a little more about that and what
Well,
brought
yeah,
that on?
yeah. Because of my background, I am a fight choreographer. So I can choreograph the fight scenes if I have to do a fight scenes. So I do want to clarify, I don't do stunts. I do fight choreography. There's a difference. I'm not going to be jumping off a
Sorry.
building. I'm not going to do any of that crazy stuff. No, 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 no. If it comes to anything like martial arts or boxing, I can do that. My own stunts. I mean, my own fight choreography. So I do that, and I train the actors, and I help them with the fight scenes. So to me, I think that's important because most women who are directors, I don't know a director who also does fight choreography, a female. So I thought it was something different, something to add to my hats. I wear many, so that's just another one. So it's pretty cool, I think.
Absolutely. I think so too. I think it's fabulous. So, the movies you've been making and writing, the screenplays you've been writing, what do you want your audience to get from these? What are you inspiring?
Well, I'm just trying to all my projects that I do or plan to do will definitely empower, educate, and of course entertain people. I want people to walk away and um, still talk about what they just saw. It's topics that are up for discussion. People can have good debates about it maybe or something like that when they leave. Um, and that's what you want. I want people to learn something. I want people to think differently because I do hit on tough topics. That's my thing. I do tough topics. So you won't ever see me doing a romantic comedy because that's just not what I do. So, you know,
Okay.
and I want my films to, change the world. I want people to look at it and have a different thought about things, and that's important to me because of my background, because of other people who I've coached or whatever, other people I've met, and they tell me their stories. It's, to be able to come through such traumatic experiences and be good on the other side. That's important to me. And that's what I would want to show in my films.
Absolutely. I think one of the big messages I saw is that, you know, you can do anything. You can do anything as a woman,
Mm-hmm.
whatever your community is. And I just and you're right. Your movies are there's no romantic comedy in there. There's a lot of up and down, and
Yeah.
but I think your stories are so passionate and purposeful. What you're trying to convey, I just love it. I think it's so important and needed to be heard, and that different point of view that
Mm-hmm.
you have coming from the mob situation. You have such a and it being a mixed family. I think that's really an interesting point of view of life,
Oh
and
yeah, definitely.
I value that you're bringing that to the screen in many different ways. So thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. So
Um,
I'm just working to get these type of movies out. My life story is in development. The feature film, we're going to work on that because again, it's important to be told and shown that overcome anything. You just have to. And my favorite quote that I came up with is that your past doesn't dictate what your future will be. And that's my quote because it's true. Society said me, my son, we should be, a statistic, like I said, we should. But my son, he thrived. He came through. He speaks 5 languages. He's a international life coach. He's in Colombia right now coaching.
wow,
He's Dr. Clinton Bullock. So you know, people doubted
fabulous.
us. Yeah, people doubted us when I had him, and they tried to make me give him up. Family and friends wanted me to give him up for adoption and everything, and
No way.
I'm glad I never did. I'm glad I stuck in there and did what I had to do to keep us.
Absolutely. So, again, another part of your whole story that's so inspiring. You weren't going anywhere. You were going to do it, and you did.
Mhm.
And wow, and there's nothing bigger and better than that result of your child doing what
Yeah,
they're doing. And
yeah, it's very very proud. I mean, I have 3 children. He's the oldest. I have 2 other children, and they're both like my middle child, Andre. He's a producer in Hollywood. He's out in LA and Hollywood. My daughter, she's amazing. She was 23 when she bought her first home. by herself. She put the money down, got it together, and did it all by herself. So I, again, when I talk to people, especially about raising children or anything, I have three shining examples that I can put out there. Despite how I started, what I went through, I was still able to raise good, productive, successful children, which is,
Yeah.
very good to me. Very, it's one of my biggest accomplishments because it could have turned out so different. It could have. So
Yeah. Yeah. I was a different story, but single mom. And I understand there were times that, bankruptcy, the whole thing, I was, how am I gonna buy the next meal? How am I
yeah.
gonna pay the next thing? And we all have those stories. And, so just inspiring and beautiful, beautiful. And thank you for sharing what your kids are doing. I think that's amazing.
Mhm.
So what's next on your list for things? You say you're talking about your movie, your life that's coming
Yeah,
out. What
it's
else?
like we're gonna finish up a cup full of crazy. I have another movie that we're going right into called Not on My Watch. It deals with angels and demons, but in real life in this time, about, again, something to make people think about how we live our lives, how we treat each other, how we're destroying the planet because of global warming and everything. And that's going to
Wow.
be very that's going to be very interesting.
Yeah.
It's I have a lot of projects and working on a TV show, developing a TV show. So it's a lot of things that I'm working on because um, at at this time in Hollywood, it's all about women. They are seeking women and seeking women's projects. So I'm going to take advantage of that situation since this is our
You
time right now.
should. Beautiful. Yeah, yeah. So now, one of the interviews I happened to in my research, you talked about opening a studio in Philadelphia,
Mhm.
and keeping it in Philly, hometown. Is that still something you're thinking about?
Um, I'm not sure because the economy in Philly right now, the economy in Philly is really bad. It's really hurting the Philadelphia Film Office, um,
Yeah.
and it's not a good point right now. It wouldn't be good to open up a studio here now. It could improve in the years to come when I'm thinking about ready to build one. So we'll see. But I have to move to I have to move to LA for a while because, I have a management team that wants to manage me. They said you have to be out here. And it's a good way for me to more and connect with people easily if I'm in LA. And like I said, my son's out there. He's a Hollywood producer. So, it's where I need to be. Things are coming
Yeah,
along that I need to be there. So I have to
yeah,
make that move first.
absolutely. Well, yeah, be more than happy to have you. Well needed and very inspirational. Okay, so your final thoughts. We're just wrapping up here, Julian, and I want to, what are your thoughts when somebody comes to you? I know you help people with screenplays, you coach, how to write, all that. Any final thoughts on how to live?
Like I said, I didn't understand this again until I started doing, like I said, yoga and meditation. But you definitely have to deal with your mental health first. That's what I would say. If you're not, it doesn't matter what else you do in life. I don't care if you have money. I don't care if you have fame and fortune. Um, you have to deal with your mental health first. And you want to be, it's important to be a good person. I really, I say that because, now with the COVID situation and all, and so many people have lost their lives and everything. But we take things for granted. We take things that for
Yeah,
granted that we're always going to be here. So we have to love more. We have to be kind to ourselves. We have to be kind to others, and we just have to do our best that we can. And if you need help, you have to go get that help, that therapy, whatever you need. That's going to help you be a better person, to be healthier and happier. You have to go work on yourself. That's very important.
wow, beautiful, beautiful, and well said, and so important. All those things. So I just want to thank you again, Julian, for taking your time out of the day and being here with us and our audience. And you've truly lived and are living an inspirational life. And I think you definitely are inspiring others every day. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah. Well, we love it. So thank you for watching Inspiration Whispers, where in a world where purpose and inspiration is so needed, we find it. And hopefully you can use it to make the change in your life. I'm your host, Coach Rileagh. Thank you again for being with us today.